I think the actual DC universe is in a pretty promising place. I'm really excited for the slate that they've announced, but I do think they could have started off better. The first movie in my DC universe is a Superman movie titled Superman. My Superman movie is pretty close to the original Man of Steel movie, the plot and the character development. The movie takes a lot of inspiration from Batman Begins, which, in my opinion, is the best superhero origin movie of all time. The theme of the movie is Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme. I really like that theme and it suits the movie's tone perfectly. Superman will be played by Henry Cavill. I think that with the right script, he has the potential to be the best Superman we've ever gotten on screen. Zod will be played by Javier Bardem, Lex Luthor by Mark Strong, and Lois Lane by Alicia. This movie will come out in June 2013 and will set the foundation for the whole DC universe to come. My DC universe is divided into phases like the MCU has done, although there are going to be no credit scenes and each movie will not contain many Easter eggs to other characters or events. The movie will rather be self-contained and focused on the characters in the story. Also, each movie in my DC universe will have its own video because I really want to go in depth with my universe. Opening scene. Lara Lovan is giving birth to a baby boy, Kal-El. As he tries to comfort his wife, Jor-El is programming something on his computer. People outside are banging on their door trying to get in, Zod and his henchmen. Jor-El tells Lara that they don't have much time. Kal-El is born and they place him in a pod. Zod blasts the door open and threatens Jor-El. Joel says it's too late and presses on a button that fires off the pod with Kal-El in it into space. Zod yells, "Where did you send him?" Jor-El replies, "To a place where you never will find him." As he's watching Kal-El fly through space, Zod steps towards Jor-El and stabs him in the stomach. Shocked, he looks at Zod but is also at peace and relieved. He tells his wife that their purpose has been fulfilled before falling to the floor dead. Zod is frightened by what he's done and steps back and leaves the room. Lara is left to her own and watches the planet explode. We follow the pod through space and see that it has course towards Earth. The pod crashes on Kent Farm. Jonathan and Martha Kent sight the crash and goes towards it. They find Kal-El in it and decide to raise him as their son. Act 1, Scene 2. Clark is sitting in his classroom. His teacher calls his name, but he doesn't pay attention. He's daydreaming. The teacher goes towards Clark and raises her voice, making him snap back to reality. He looks at his teacher and sees the inside of her body. He doesn't know what is happening and is scared. He begins to hear all sorts of sounds and noises happening around him. The clock, tapping, whispering, writing. In an attempt to control his senses, Clark shuts down. He looks around at the other students and sees the inside of their body too. He's frightened and, in a hurry, he storms out of the classroom. Clark runs down the hallway and hides himself in a small closet. His teacher tries to follow him in, but he's locked the door. The teacher tries to get Clark to come out and tries to open the doorknob. Clark notices and burns the doorknob with the heat vision, burning the teacher's hand. Clark hears the other students whisper about him. What a freak he is. There's definitely something wrong with him, which Clark is very much put off by. Then Martha arrives at the scene and calms down Clark. Try to focus on positive things, she says. Don't let whatever is controlling you control you. Take a deep breath. You are in control. A montage is shown of flashbacks of happy times in Clark's life. Once he's calmed down, Clark opens the door and runs into his mother's arms with tears dropping from his eyes. What's wrong with me, Mom? Scene 3. Clark wakes up in his bed in his single apartment. He gets ready, takes clothes on, makes coffee and breakfast, takes a bath, brushes his teeth. As he's about to go out the door, Clark's senses start gaining the control of him again. He can see through walls, hear what people are talking about on the street, hear his neighbors talking in their apartments. His eyes go red. He's all alone. He remembers back to when he was young and thinks of positive things that reveal more about his life. His graduation, helping Jonathan Kent in the farm, eating dinner with his parents. I am in control, he says to himself. Clark is working at a bar serving a group of people. A disabled customer enters the bar. Clark watches a group of people approach this disabled customer. Hey, you don't belong here, someone says. Get out. We don't want someone like you here. Clark remembers back to his childhood, making him relate to the disabled customer. He decides to interfere. He tells the bullies off, but they don't stop. The bullying gets worse, and Clark gets mad. They pour their beer over him and push him, but he doesn't move. Clark stands still. Surprised, the bullies sit back down, and all wet Clark leaves the bar. Clark stands outside talking to himself, frustrated that he can't do what he wants to do. A hologram of General Zod appears in front of him, speaking his name. Kal-El. What's that supposed to mean? Clark asks. Can I help you? That is your name, Kal-El, and no, my name is General Zod. I'm here to offer you a path. Clark doesn't know how to respond. What path? The path for you to find your true purpose in life. You don't need to help me. I'm doing fine on my own, Clark responds, initially neglecting the call for help. That's what you think. You are a super being amongst ordinary beings, and yet you haven't made yourself noticed. I will show you the path for you to become the man I know you want to become. Sod's hologram disappears and the portal opens. Clark decides to step into the portal and is teleported up to Sod's spaceship where it's made by Sod and his henchmen. You have no idea how long we've been searching for you, Cal. Multiple galaxies, nothing. Not a single sign of a Kryptonian. Thanks to the distress beacon you sent out, we were able to find you, Sod says. Instantly, Clark is hit by the change in atmosphere. What is happening to me? Clark asks as his body starts collapsing in on itself. Your body is adapting to the change in atmosphere. Don't worry, Sod says. What are you seeking? I seek to find the true purpose of my life, to use my powers for a greater purpose that can inspire other people to do the same, Clark answers, and then passes out. Scene 4. Clark and Jonathan sit on the back of their trailer. I heard from Martha there was an incident today at school, Jonathan says. Something about your senses you couldn't control. Clark doesn't say a word. Whatever it is you're fighting, you can always talk about it with us. We're your parents. Who am I, Dad? Why can I do the things I can do? Clark asks. Can you just please tell me the truth? I'm old enough to realize there's something wrong with me. Okay, son, you're right. But we don't know a whole lot about you either. Jonathan unravels the pod below their farm. You wanted the truth? Here it is. This is how you came to Earth, Clark, Jonathan says. Clark just stares at it. What is this supposed to mean? Am I not human? We found you in this pod one night when it crashed on our farm, and we found you inside of it. We didn't tell anyone about it, but we were sure that the government would come looking for the object, but no one ever came. We found this piece of material with you in the pod. Jonathan shows Clark the command key. Clark touches it and it sends out a silent distress signal. What is this? Clark asks. We asked the scientist what it was, and he said that the material doesn't even exist on our periodic table, Jonathan answers. No one knows where you're from or who you are. Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Clark asks. It was wrong of us to first tell you now, we know, but we were too afraid of how you would take it. It's a big deal, Jonathan says. You are most likely not from this planet, Clark. But I don't want to be an alien. Can I just pretend to be your son? Clark asks, sad. You are my son, Jonathan says, comforting while hugging Clark. But somewhere out there you have another father who gave you another name. That you owe to yourself to find out. Clark sits on a bench inspecting the command key as a group of kids from school come by, amongst them Pete Ross. They walk over to Clark and tease him. They throw him against the fence. Come on, Clark, fight back, you loser, one of them says. Clark is defenseless and sits right up against the fence. One of the bullies then sees Clark's father standing nearby and tells his friend. Jonathan comes over, making the bullies leave Clark alone. Jonathan helps Clark up on his feet. Are you alright? They can't hurt me, you know that, Clark says. But still, I really wanted to hurt them. I know you did, and a part of me even wanted you to, but then what? Jonathan asks. Then you become an image of destruction and fear, and you don't want that. You just have to decide what type of man you want to grow up to be, Clark. Because whoever that man is, good or bad character, he's going to change the world. But right now, the world is not ready, so it is important that you keep this out of yourself a secret. Do you understand? You saw how everyone reacted to you at school. They were afraid of you. We're all afraid of what we don't understand, and right now, we don't understand you, Clark. But how do I make them understand me? Clark asks. I don't know, Clark. Maybe you can't. Scene 5. Clark and Sod watch the universe from their spaceship. Where was I from? Clark asks. Krypton. The Kryptonians was an advanced civilization. We had technology you couldn't dream of having on Earth. We were an unstoppable force in the universe, roaming multiple galaxies. Did you know my parents? Clark asks. Your father was named Jor-El and your mother Laura Lovan, Sod says. I was a close friend of your father. He and I were the only ones who foresaw the upcoming destruction of Krypton. We tried to convince the council about the future, but whilst your father went unnoticed, I was sentenced to the Phantom Zone as a punishment. Nobody chose to act, and hence the planet was destroyed. With the destruction, however, I and my henchmen were able to escape the Phantom Zone. We were adrift in space, destined to float amongst the ruins of our planet until we starved. How did you find your way to Earth? Clark asks. We managed to retrofit the Phantom projector into a hyperdrive, Sod says. Your father made a similar modification to the craft that brought you here, and so the instrument of our damnation became our salvation. We sought out the old colonial outposts looking for signs of life, but all we found was death. Cut off from Krypton, these outposts withered and died long ago. We salvaged what we could, armor, weapons, even a world engine. And then I brought you here, Clark says. Exactly. We were many galaxies away when we found your distress signal. On Krypton, the genetic template for every being yet to be born is encoded in the registry of citizens. Every being was amongst three types of citizens: a warrior, a farmer, or an intellect. Every being was superficially created and born. That was the only way we were able to control our population. I was a military war leader. With every type of being, there comes a predetermined purpose to fulfill a role in society. Mine was to protect Krypton, and I failed. A training montage of Clark learning to control his senses, mentored by Sod, is shown. Clark learns that he should not hide from his senses but commit to them, become them. After training, Sod and Clark talk. What do you think my purpose was? Clark asks. I don't know, Sod answers. That's what we need to figure out. You'll know when that's right. Sod then explains to Clark how being a war leader on Krypton was. Many people feared me of the decisions I took, but that was because they didn't understand my intentions. I merely did what was necessary, but sometimes you just have to do what you know is right when you also know you'll be hated for it. Clark doesn't really get the morale of the story. Did you believe you could make the humans understand you? Scene 6. Clark and his parents are driving whilst an argument between them occurs. I've waited long enough for the world to be ready. I want to be what was meant to be, Clark says. You can't, Clark. The world is not ready for someone like you to appear, Jonathan replies. So when will it be ready? I don't know. It may never be, Martha says from the back seat. It's all right, Martha. He's right. I'm not his father, nor are you his mom. But we've always wanted what's best for you. You were a gift from above. We're grateful. We've both been there for you, the first step you took, the first word you said, and we will always be there for you in the future, too, Jonathan says. Clark goes silent and looks out of the window. They spot a tornado in the distance. Jonathan stops the car and they get out on the road with the other civilians, all watching the tornado. It's coming to us, someone yells. Everyone starts panicking. Jonathan tells Clark and Martha to take cover under the underpass. Clark says he can help, but Jonathan refuses, saying they can't risk it. Clark begrudgingly follows order. Jonathan runs around helping people out of their cars as Clark and Martha watch. Clark notices the appreciation Jonathan gets from other people around him and the inspiration he aspires in other people. Jonathan sees a family near him, stuck in their seats. He rushes to the car and helps the family out. As he's about to get out, a car stumbles on the car he's in, breaking his leg. The tornado is making its way towards him. Martha and Clark are worried, but Clark's ready to act. Jonathan manages to get out of the car, but the tornado is right over him. Clark and Jonathan look at each other dead in the eyes. I'm sorry, Dad, Clark says, and then he rushes to his father and pulls him away from the tornado. Are you okay? Clark asks worried. Jonathan doesn't answer, and Clark realizes that everybody saw his act. They all stare at him. I couldn't let you die to hide my secret. I now realize that I cannot act when someone's in need, and you can't stop me anymore, Clark says. No, son, I can't hold you back from the world any longer. You made the right choice. Maybe I was the one who was wrong, Jonathan says. You've got great power. All it takes sometimes is to take a leap of faith. Pete Rosling comes up to Clark. Don't worry, Clark. I'll keep this a secret for you. The civilians in the background nod, indicating they're agreeing. Clark turns to his dad and mom, puts his hand on each of their shoulder. I need to find out who I am and that I can't do while staying with you. I'm sorry. I have to leave. I owe it not to me, but to mankind. Scene 7. In order to join Sod, Clark needs to complete one last trial. One of Sod's henchmen bring out a man from a cell. His face is covered in darkness, and once it is revealed who the man is, Clark is in shock. It is Lex Luthor. Kill this man, Sod says. Why? Clark asks. This man is corrupt and uses his unfairly gained power selfishly. He's a detriment to society and has used it to gain all his wealth. He's destroying society just like with Krypton. We need to prevent that. Clark hesitates. I can't. Whatever this man has done is no reason to kill him. We don't decide who lives and who dies. So what? You're just going to let him live, making him commit even more crimes to society? He's a barrier for mankind to reach its full potential. Everyone can be saved. No one is irredeemable. Say I kill this man, I become a murderer, a symbol of destruction and fear. No, Sot says. You become a symbol of hope for a better world. Mankind full of war, corruption, self-destruction. They're a time bomb waiting to explode and destroy our universe. We've taken matters into our own hands and we've decided that mankind is deeply flawed. and must die. Clark is in shock. This is what the foundations of Krypton shall be built on. Using our world engines, we can terraform Earth into new Krypton. Mankind is flawed, but that's what makes them so special. That's what makes them human, Clark says. I saw my father willing to sacrifice himself to save that family in the car. That is humanity. I need to be what my dad was to that family in the car, a protector. Zod questions Clark on his belief. Why don't you protect the humans rather than your own race? I'm not. I don't have a race. I'm just doing what's right. You've made a serious mistake, Cal. Zod's henchmen form a circle around Clark and Lex. Clark uses his heat vision to burn Zod's spaceship, making all Zod's prisoners escape from their cells. Zod's henchmen jump on Clark and they fight while Clark protects Lex Luthor. Clark struggles, but the prisoners eventually overwhelm Zod's guards, giving Clark and Lex a chance to escape. Lex manages to get the portal open and escapes through the spaceship without Clark knowing. Clark is left to his own with no way out. He remembers his father's words that he's got great power and all it takes sometimes to take a leap of faith. Clark is frightened and doesn't know yet how to fly or if he can survive in space. He realizes that he can and is afloat in space. Clark tries to fly but can't. He tries using his hands to steer and it works. He flies towards Earth. Act 2, Scene 8. As he's approaching Kent Farm, Clark realizes he doesn't know how to speed down on land, so he crashes into the ground, creating a huge hole on their farm. Jonathan and Martha hear the crash and rush out to see what it was. They see Clark rising from the ground. Clark, Martha says while running over to him. They hug and Jonathan joins in. They talk about what Clark's learned while he was gone. I met someone from my planet, a Kryptonian. His name was Zod. He taught me what Krypton was. He even knew my parents. That's great, Clark, Martha says. We're so happy for you. Clark smiles. Don't worry, Mom. You'll always be my parents. And they both died with the destruction of my planet. I'm sorry, Clark. I know. He explained to me that Krypton, my planet, was destroyed long ago, Clark says. He and his men were the only survivors, and he's planning on coming to Earth. For what purpose? Jonathan asks. He says that mankind must die and Krypton shall be built on Earth instead. Corruption, war, self-destruction. We're a time bomb. Do you agree? Jonathan asks. Of course not. Well, maybe a little bit. I'm not quite sure. My desire lies in protecting Earth, but I just don't know if I feel that's the right thing for me. I don't fit in here. After all, I'm not from here, I'm from Krypton. Jonathan and Martha are stunned. Clark, whatever you choose to do, Martha says, we'll always support you. I know, Mom, and thank you. It's just a tough decision. I'm trying to do what I think is right. I need to show the people of Earth that I want what's best for them. I need to make them understand me. If I want to fight Zod, I need to become something more. I need to become a symbol of not destruction and death, but an inspiration that can inspire other people. As it is now, I can't fight Zod and his army alone. They're too powerful. I need training. Scene 9. We see a man sitting in his office in a skyscraper looking over the city of Metropolis. Someone knocks on his door. Come in, the man says. Mercy Graves enters his room. Mr. Luthor, she says, and we see Lex Luthor turning around in his chair, revealing his face. I found the man you were talking about from that spaceship, she says. Clark Kent, from Smallville. She shows him a picture of him. Interesting, Luthor says. You've done your job. Now, leave. Scene 10. Clark has flown over to the desert with the goal of testing his powers. He focuses and lets all his powers activate and take control of him. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, levitates off the ground, arms wide spread. His eyes turn red, mouth turns blue. Clark opens his eyes and mouth as he shoots his heat vision and freeze breath at the same time. I am in control, he says, and then takes off with incredible speed and flies around Earth as fast as he can. He's enjoying it, waving to strangers as a sonic blow passes by them. Clark eventually gets back to the desert he started in and tries to land. Concentrating as hard as he can with all his power, he lands perfectly in the sand. Scene 11. Clark is at home as it rings on the doorbell. Clark goes to open the door and sees Lex Luthor with a big smile on his face. Lex Luthor enters the room without saying a word. Nice meeting you again, Cal. I wish our first meeting could have been under better circumstances, but me too, Clark says, watching Lex closely as he's walking around his home. And thanks for leaving without me. My pleasure. How did you come to Earth, Kal-El? Lex asks. Someone like you couldn't have been born here, surely. You already know, don't you? Clark asks. Of course I do. It was me who made sure that the government didn't come around when you and your little spaceship crashed here. Clark looks at Jonathan. Now, where did you hide it? Lex asks. If you won't show it to me, I'll take back everything I've done for you, and then the government will come looking for you. You have no choice. Clark unravels the pod, just like his father did to him. Wow, Lex Luthor says. Truly impressive. What do you want with it? Clark asks. Confidential, Lex says as he inspects the object. Lex then turns his attention towards Clark. It must be hard being all alone on this planet. No one can understand you, and you can't understand anyone. You are in total solitude, Lex says. Well, thank you for showing me. I sure won't be taking back everything I've done for you. You've earned my trust, Lex says as he leaves the room. Clark is stunned and doesn't know how to comprehend what just happened. Accidentally, he spots a plug in the pod that matches the command key. He injects the command key in the plug, opening a portal. Clark enters the portal carefully and is transported to his yet to become Fortress of Solitude. Clark walks around and inspects the place. Suddenly, a hologram of Jor-El appears. To see you standing there, having grown up to an adult. If only Lara could witness this. Who are you? Clark asks. I'm your father, Kal-El, or at least a shadow of him, his consciousness. My name is Jor-El. Clark is stunned and doesn't know how to respond. Why didn't you go with me to Earth? We couldn't, no matter how much we wanted to, no matter how much we loved you, Jor-El says. Your mother Lara and I were the product of the failures of our world, tied to its fate. I understand, Clark says. Why can I do the things I can do? Jor-El explains that Clark absorbs the energy from the sun. What is my purpose then? Clark asks. We believe that Krypton had lost something precious with the artificial birth, the element of choice. What if its child dreamed of becoming something other than society had intended for him or her? What if its child aspired to be something greater, something more? You were the embodiment of that belief, Cal. Krypton's first natural birth in centuries. That means you have no purpose. You are as much of a child of Earth as you are of Krypton. You can embody the best of both worlds, Joel says. A wall opens displaying the black Superman suit. This suit is the symbol of the House of El. It means hope. You can show the people of Earth the way so they won't follow Krypton's fate. Be their leader, Kal-El. Give the people of Earth hope. Scene 12. Lex Luthor enters a bar full of criminals and thugs. He orders a drink and sits at a crowded table. What do you want? One of the criminals asks. Bruno Mannheim. I've got a job for you, Lex says. No more jobs. You promised us it was the last time. I have a family now, you know, Bruno says. Yes, I know. You've only told me about 1,000 times. And I also know how much you are in need of cash, so I don't think you'll pass up on this job. What is it? Bruno asks. Goodwin agreement. Lex says and gives him a card. How much? Bruno asks. $15 million, Lex says and then leaves the bar. Midpoint. The mayor sits in a meeting with councilors and businessmen from Metropolis. The mayor's clerk enters the room and informs him that Lex Luthor could not make it to the meeting. The mayor says they'll go on without him. They begin by discussing future projects for Metropolis. Lex Luthor sits in his office and watches the meeting from his hidden camera. He looks at his clock and, as it is 12, it immediately knocks on the mayor's door. Come in, the mayor says frustrated. The door opens, it's a group of 6 people. Enter gang. Who are you? The mayor asks. Cuts into gang leaving the mayor's building with the mayor taken hostage. The police are already outside, waiting for them. Drop your gun and leave the mayor, one officer shouts. How about you drop your gun and leave us alone? One of the intergang members respond. The police officers look at each other confused, and then the intergang members start shooting at the police officers, destroying their cars, quickly taking all of them out. As all hope is lost, a red laser is shot, cutting the criminals' weapons in half, and ice, freezing the criminals' weapons. Then a black blower passes by that picks up the criminals one by one and throws them into the ground, knocking them out. We then see Clark in the black Superman suit lowering himself from the sky. One of the civilians start clapping and then quickly spreads around. Soon, everyone is clapping and cheering for him. Who are you? A police officer asks. I'm here to help, keeping the city safe, Clark responds. We pan up to see Lex Luthor standing in his office, looking down at the scene with a smirk on his face. Scene 14. Clark wakes up in his bed the next day. He takes his clothes on and walks downstairs to his parents who are eating breakfast. Looks like you made it to the news, Clark. Or should we call you Superman? Jonathan says and shows Clark the newspaper. Clark grabs the newspaper. Superman. A little cheesy, isn't it? Yes, Jonathan says while laughing and taking a sip of his coffee. You all know the news. Look. Clark looks at the TV news and sees them talking about him with the title, Who is the Superman? With the quote, I'm here to help keeping the city safe. They can never know who the Superman is. You know that, right, Clark? Jonathan says. Why? Clark asks. If anyone were to find out, say an enemy of yours, they could use your personal life as a threat. Everyone you care about and everyone that care about you will be put in danger. Clark understands. Clark is walking their family dog in the streets of Smallville. As he's passing by strangers, he hears them talking about the Superman. Everyone is amazed by him. They've never seen anything like him before. They show no sign of fear like Clark and Jonathan had expected. Clark is over the moon. Scene 15. Clark is at home and it rings on the doorbell again. Clark goes to open the door and sees Lex Luthor. Nice job yesterday, Lex says. With what? Clark asks. Oh, stop trying to play mind games. You know you can't hide the truth from me. Deep down, Clark knows Lex is right. Don't worry, I'm not here to spoil anything. What do you want then? I want to offer you a partnership with me. Why should I be interested in being your partner? Clark asks. There are plenty of reasons. I know you want to protect Metropolis, but you can't always be ready to go out and pretend to be Superman. That's where I come in. I got connections all over Metropolis. As soon as someone's in danger, I'll know. I'll make you successful and popular. I'll make the people see you for who you really are, Lex says. You have 1 hour to answer me. You know where to find me. If you don't come, I'll take it as a no. Clark sits at home debating with his family whether he should accept Luthor's request or not. Jonathan is against the proposal. We don't know if we can trust Luthor. We need to be cautious. There is more at stake here than a partnership. It's best if you work alone, Clark. Don't hide this much power to a human. That could be very dangerous. Clark, however, wants to accept Luthor's proposal. I know we can't trust him, but I have to take risks if I want to inspire hope. Luthor might have done terrible things, but everybody can change. Martha is supporting Clark, but she still sees the rationality in the standpoint Jonathan is advocating for. Scene 16. Cut to Clark flying outside Luthor's office. Just in time, I like it, Lex says. He opens his balcony door for Clark to come inside. Glad you accepted my proposal. With your power and my brain, we can accomplish great things together. Don't get too excited, Luthor. If I don't want in, I want to always have the option to leave. Of course, that's how our partnership works, isn't it? By the way, what should I call you? It seems you have 3 names, Kal-El, Clark, or Superman, Lex asks. I don't care what you call me, I responds. Hardball, huh? Superman it is then. Does the Superman want a glass of something? Whiskey, maybe. I don't drink, Clark asks. Oh, of course. Forgot they didn't have alcohol in Krypton. He chose the right side. For the time being, Clark responds. Luther stops in his action and looks at Clark. Nevertheless, I've prepared a little press conference to go public with our new partnership. It'll start in about. Looks at his watch. 30 seconds. Lex Luthor stands on stage. The room is crammed with journalists. Please welcome to the stage, everybody, the Superman. Superman walks onto the stage with his black Superman suit. Superman introduces himself and declares briefly for everyone that he's here to help. Lex Luthor asks if there are any questions for him or Superman. Yes, that lady on the front row. The camera pans back to reveal it is Lois Lane. Mr. Superman, she begins. Call me Superman, Clark interrupts. Okay, Superman. With all this power and abilities you have, how do we know we can't trust you? How do we know you won't sometime act against humanity's interests? She asks. I guess you just have to trust me, like you trust all the other people in power, he says and looks at Luthor. I'm here to help, nothing else, he answers. Okay, does anyone have a question for me now? Luthor asks. Scene 17. Clark is about to go to bed as he receives a text from Mr. Luthor. It's the address of a bank and says in 10 minutes. Cut to see Superman flying over the city of Metropolis at night, intercut with Lois walking home. Lois spots Superman flying above her head and follows his direction. When Superman gets to the bank, he doesn't see anything suspicious. It's closed and there is no sign of anyone until. Hello, Superman, a man behind him says. The man assaults him, breaking out a fight. Superman is manhandling him. Warm-up's over, Boy Scout. Times of facial weakness, he says as he tears his mask off to reveal Metallo. Metallo's chest opens, exposing Superman to kryptonite. Superman doesn't know what it is, but instantly feels the effect of it. His body starts collapsing and his powers go away. He becomes vulnerable to Metallo's hits. He becomes human. Metallo is physically hurting Superman, but also trying to psychologically hurt him by playing mind games on him, saying he's not as powerful as he thought he was, and he's nothing compared to him. When Clark is down on the ground and Metallo is about to deliver his final blow, Lois Lane enters the bank and makes herself noticed. Leave him alone. Metallo turns around and sees Lois Lane standing in the entrance, making him run away. Lois runs towards Superman. What happened, Superman? I don't know, he answers while trying to get back on his feet. He exposed me to some kind of green mineral, which drained all my powers. It was like I felt like what it was to be human. Thank you for saving me. Glad to help. My name is Lois Lane. Superman is about to say his name, but then remembers the situation. My name. Good to meet you, Lois. I've done some digging on Mr. Luthor. I thought he might have some underlying plan with your partnership. That intergang who kidnapped the mayor with Luthor's work, she says, and shows Clark a picture of Luthor in the bar talking to Bruno Mannheim. He's organizing all these crimes for you to stop. But why? Clark asks. Exactly. My guess is that he's trying to make you look good, which in turn will make him look good. But that's too simple. It's not that simple with Luthor. Well, then we're going to find out here. Thanks for telling me, Lois. Luthor will have a visitor tonight. And Superman, if you ever need an article written about you, Lois says and hands Superman her business card. You know where I am. Superman takes the card and flies off. Why didn't you tell me? Superman says to Luthor. About what? About you hiring the criminal, setting up a time and place for a crime and calling me, Superman responds. Oh, that insignificant, Clark. Let me guess. Lois told you, he asks. This is how we get you to become the most popular person in Metropolis, after me, of course. Lex says with a smirk on his face. How did you find that green mineral? What was that? Superman asks, curious. Kryptonite. It neutralizes the power you've gained from your exposure to the yellow sun. How did you find it? I was hoping you'd ask that question. When I was on Star's spaceship, I found them. They were created after the destruction of your planet. I was a fool for trusting you, Luthor. You abuse your power for a selfish purpose. That is wrong. Whatever you say, Lex says. But you have to know, out here in the real world, that's the only thing that counts. Yourself. You're wrong, Luthor. Everybody in the city counts. Everybody must be heard, seen, taken care for, understood. Everybody is equal. Have it your way then. But remember, this is what you wanted. My city trusts me. I can do whatever I want with no consequences. I can persuade them however I may desire. That is the power of hope. I am a symbol of hope for this city. What is your gain in this? Clark asks. Why are you doing this? I'm doing this for the people. They need someone to look up to, someone to be inspired by, and that man happens to be me. Scene 18. Clark sits at home with his parents. You were right, I couldn't trust Luthor, Clark says. I should have known it. It was so naive of me. Everybody makes mistakes, Clark. It happened, so be it. You can't make up for it now, Jonathan says. What really matters is what we take away from the mistakes we make, so that if we face them again, we know what to do. It is late at night as Clark and Jonathan watch football. Martha is outside as she spots something unclear in the sky. Clark, Jonathan, she says. Clark and Jonathan come outside and look at the object in the sky, but it's only Clark who can see what it is. Sod, he says. All the electricity goes out in their house. It becomes all dark. The TV turns on, making a bizarre and scary noise. They open the door back inside as a startled message is broadcasted on the screen saying, You are not alone. We cut to different areas in the different countries around the world and see the message written and told in different languages. Then the message also appears on every other screen, phone screen, computer screen. The message then switches to a live broadcasting of General Zod. My name is General Zod. I come from a world far from yours. I've journeyed across an ocean of stars to reach you. For some time, your world has sheltered one of my citizens. I request that you return this individual to my custody. He will look like you, he will have tried to blend in, but he's not one of you. To those of you who know his location, the fate of your planet lies in your hands. To Kal-El I say this, surrender within 24 hours, or watch this world suffer the consequences. The broadcasting stops and the electricity comes back. Cut to Lex Luthor in the middle of holding another press conference. John Corbin might have been more machine than man, but he was still human. A human who certainly didn't deserve this. Luthor says and shows a video of Superman beating Metallo. Corbin came to me months ago, seeking pardon and a fresh start in life. Mindful of my own history, as well as his enormous potential for good for this country, I granted him both. I too find it hard to believe that Superman, whom we all trusted, who swore to keep helping the city safe, has now become a law-abiding citizen. He's crossed the laws that bind us all as human beings. I too trusted him, but now that he's shown his true intentions, not anymore. Superman can't be trusted. He's dangerous, not only for our city, but for our world. How do we know he won't someday act against our interests? Therefore, I suggest he turns himself into General Zod. That is the only way he can help keeping us safe. The same night Superman was seen with a journalist, Lois Lane. Luthor says and shows a picture. She will be taken into custody, and she will talk what she knows about Superman, taking in alternative measures if necessary in serving our country. Act 3, Scene 19. After watching the press conference, Clark gets the feeling that Lois is in danger. He feels that he owes her for saving him against Metallo previously. Superman flies over to Lois's apartment. He takes a look into her apartment and sees that her apartment has been flipped on its head. The men who were coming for her made a mess while doing so. Superman enters her apartment and sees a letter lying on the floor, an address. Superman flies to the address and doesn't see anyone. Shortly after, he realizes it was a trap. Lex Luthor and Metallo steps out of the dark holding Lois hostage. Let her go, Luthor, Superman says. That wouldn't be nearly as entertaining as watching you fight for it, Luthor responds. Why go to such extreme lengths, Luthor? Is it because you want to turn me in? No, no. We can't trust Zod. He'll unleash the world engines no matter what we do, Lex says. If I ever had the chance, I would have killed him when I was up in that spaceship. What are you doing this for, then? Everyone might hate you on Earth right now, but I know the truth. You're the only one who can stop Zod, Luthor says. Clark is shocked. I'm taking a necessary alternative measure in serving our country. I'm asking that you work for me, and we will stop Zod. Never again, Superman says. Too bad, Superman. Metallo then opens his chest, exposing Superman to kryptonite again, draining his powers. Luthor leaves with Lois in a car and drives away. Superman is left to his own with Metallo. Metallo hammers down on Superman like it's nothing. Superman just lies still on the ground, taking a hit after it hits his face. You're making it too easy, Superman. You're nothing special, Metallo says. You never learn from your mistakes, do you? Superman then realizes how he can beat Metallo. He uses the last bit of energy to run away from Metallo, giving him a chance to reabsorb his energy. He runs away far enough till he's not affected by Metallo's kryptonite any longer. He then uses the last bit of power to freeze Metallo in solid. Superman then flies above the city and spots Lex Luthor's car. He lands right in front of the car, making the car crash. He leaves Luthor alone and flies away with Lois. Scene 20. Superman takes Lois on a rooftop to talk. She thanks him for saving her, and Superman replies. She then asks him what he will choose to do with Zod. Superman says that he doesn't know, but says that he questions his genuine faith in mankind to understand him. Maybe we don't need to understand you. Maybe we just need to know that you're here, what you're here for. Think back to what made you place your trust in humanity. That haven't changed. You've just gotten to understand how bad of a state this world is in currently. That's why we need someone like you, to show us the path to become who you see us as. Don't spoil what you have by deciding what you have not. Remember what you have now was once among the things you only hoped for. Scene 21. Cut to Clark sitting with his family, talking about the dilemma. What are you going to do? Jonathan asks. I can't turn myself in. The people of Earth can't be trusted, but neither can Zod. By neglecting turning myself into Zod, I can show the people of Earth to stand up for what they think is right. Not to be undermined by authority. I need to become a symbol of hope, and that should be clear to the people. Every part of me needs to become a symbol of hope. Cut to a montage of Clark dyeing his suit in the classic red, blue, and yellow colors. Why are these colors, Clark? When I was out in the real world, I discovered that people find hope and safety in police officers and firefighters. That's blue and red. I need to represent that for the people of Earth. Why the yellow? Johnson asks. To remind me that my powers come from the sun. Scene 22. Zod's spaceship lands on Earth in Antarctica. Clark sees this on the news, and donning his new Superman suit, he flies to the spaceship where he plans on confronting Zod. Superman lands and sees Zod in front of the spaceship, donning his Kryptonian armor. You made the right decision after all, Cal. Join me, Zod says. Never. Seems like I was wrong. Then watch this world suffer. Not if I stop you, Superman says. You can't, Kal-El. These machines were built to destroy. Once they're turned on, you can't turn them off. It's like a doomsday device. Zod, don't do this. You're making a mistake. This isn't a mistake. I watched all my people die. Now it's time for them to be reborn. Mankind will destroy themselves at one point either way. It's just a question of time. Krypton had its chance, Zod. You destroyed yourself, Clark says. No life is worth more or less than the other. Krypton shall not be instead of mankind. Nothing shall be built instead of anything. You don't have a purpose, Kal-El. Your life is meaningless. Your actions irrational. I wasn't born with a purpose. I chose mine. Just like I choose to stand in your way. My purpose is hope. With my help, mankind will become greater than Krypton ever was. Furious, Zod walks back into his spaceship with his henchmen and orders them to release the world engines. Scene 23. Clark sees the world engines coming from outer space, entering Earth's atmosphere. He flies off to Metropolis in a race to arrive before them. When Superman arrives in Metropolis, the world engines have already started terraforming Earth. Superman sees this. His first instinct is to help people, getting civilians away from danger. The people who once were afraid of him now choose to accept his help. Once he's done that, he rearranges his focus towards the world engine. With all his power and might, he tries to fly up to the world engine, but he just can't make it. He's being slammed down to the ground multiple times, and the world engines damaged leave a chunk of the city destroyed. The world engines seem unbeatable, as Superman won't give up or will attempt losing a bit of his strength. He's lying defeated on the ground after being hit by the world engine. He's about to give up as he sees all these civilians cheer for him once again, making him look down on his S symbol, remembering his goal to inspire hope. He flies up to the sun, recharges his energy, and in one last attempt, comes flying against the world in an engine. The further he goes towards it, the more gravity he feels pushing against him. He uses his heat vision, tearing the ship apart. All the civilians cheer for him. He then flies off to the Indian Ocean and stops the world engine, and off to the North Pole and also stops the world engine. Scene 24. He arrives back in Metropolis to see Zod hovering above all the civilians, ready to kill them all. No, Zod, stop, Superman yells and then tackles into Zod. Superman and Zod are alone in the ruins of Metropolis having a last confrontation. I failed. Krypton can never be restored. And let it stay that way, Superman says. You were wrong in choosing the people of Earth, Kal. If I won't prove it, they'll prove it themselves. Come home, Zod says desperately. I have a home, and that home is Earth. They don't need to understand me, and perhaps they never will. They just need to know what I'm here for. I will stop you, Zod says. I will enslave mankind and make it new Krypton. Superman and Zod fight. Initially, the fight is pretty balanced, but eventually Zod gains the upper hand and starts hammering down on Superman. Zod threatens to kill a family. Superman is trying his hardest to stop him, and just as Zod is about to kill him, he's shot in the back of his head with a kryptonite bullet. The camera pans back along with Superman to reveal the shooter, Lex Luthor. I told you I would kill him if I ever had the chance, Luthor says. What have you done? Superman asks in frustration. I killed him with a kryptonite bullet. The same mineral that was in Metallo, Luthor says. Turns out, your weakness is common for all Kryptonians. You can't just kill him. He was about to kill a family, Superman. You couldn't handle it, so I took matters into my own hands and handled it the way it should have been handled long ago, Luthor says. There's always a better way than taking a life. When there's no solution to a problem, it's probably not a problem to be solved, but rather a truth to be accepted, Luthor says. The truth is that if Zod isn't dead, he will continue to plague us for eternity. You really did have my respect, Superman. I knew your intentions as opposed to the people of Earth. The people of Earth are so naive, easy to manipulate, but you were something else. Saw great potential in you. The people of Earth are what you say they are, but they're also so much more, which you never will understand, Superman responds. Ending scene. Cut to Lex Luthor at a press conference taking the praise for stopping the alien invasion. Intercut with Superman helping to rebuild Metropolis. Cut to Lois Lane sitting on her balcony drinking a glass of wine and watching the sunset. Superman lands on her balcony. Hi, Lois, he says. Lois responds. Why are you here? That interview you promised me, remember? Superman responds. Yes, she says and pulls out her notes and a pen. She began asking him questions and he answers. The questions are predominantly about what Superman stands for and what the future will look like for Superman on a personal basis. Indirectly, Superman states that he wants to have a personal life, but that he knows it will affect the Superman life. Cut to Clark running out of a building, ripping his shirt off to reveal the Superman logo with the voiceover. Many people feared me of the decisions I took, but that was because they didn't understand my intentions. I merely did what was necessary, but sometimes you just have to do what you think is right when you also know you'll be hated for it. Fade to black screen credits.